Hey guys, this is Hema from ZaranTech. Welcome to this session on what is AWS. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also don't forget to press the bell icon that will keep you notified about the latest update. For more information, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Google+. At ZaranTech, we provide instructor-led live online and self-paced video training with standard study material from certified trainers. We also provide resume and interview assistance, and we have longer course duration which has a role-based training approach and flexible workshop, and at the end of the training, we provide certificate of course completion. Contact us anytime as we support 24/7. Let's look at what is AWS. Without wasting any time, let's skip on to the agenda to see what all we will be covering in today's session. So, we will start the session by first discussing what is AWS and then move on to discuss the different companies who are using the AWS source. Once we are done with that, we will move on to discuss why companies, big or small, are using AWS or any other cloud provider for that matter. Right. So once we will discuss what is AWS and why AWS is important, we will look at some of the basic services that AWS has to offer us and then move on to discuss the AWS global infrastructure. Once we are done with that, we will end the session by discussing the various pricing options provided by AWS. Now let's go on and discuss the first topic of today's session, which is what is AWS. So guys, AWS, that is Amazon Web Services, is a subsidiary of Amazon.com. As a world leader in cloud computing market. It was launched way back in 2006 when no company had the cloud computing business model. It took the risk, and now today 70% of the old cloud computing market is residing on AWS. So now you can imagine how big AWS is. Talking about companies who are on AWS, let's look at some of the prominent companies that are using the AWS infrastructure. So, there are some of the very popular companies like Kellogg's, Adobe, Airbnb, General Electric, Netflix and Amazon, which are using the AWS infrastructure for their operations. Netflix and Amazon are completely dependent upon the AWS infrastructure. Now you can imagine if these two companies, which are so big and the whole world is using it, even your application is going to share the same infrastructure as these apps. So you can imagine that your application is on safe hands and you can be assured with that. Having said that, let's move on to discuss but why do companies use AWS and what's the advantage of having the cloud computing technology with you. Let's take an example. You are going to start a business and you are in a plan of launching the Facebook application and you have the application ready. Now just you have to make it available to the world. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to invest some money, buy some servers and upload your application on it, and your application is up and ready, right? So you start with small user base, and in 1 month or so I can expect that so and so users will be there, but your plan doesn't go accordingly to your will. And what happens in overnight, your application becomes so viral that there are millions of users who are trying to access your application. Now the servers that you had are very overloaded with the kind of traffic which is coming in, and you get very anxious as what to do. So what you do, you invest some more money and buy some more servers, and now the situation seems to be little normal. But guys, servers are machines. We should not forget about it, and they may break down. So finally what happens is your server go down and your application is not working anymore. To fix this again, you have to hire a maintenance team which is now going to manage your servers for you, like kind of a server upgrade which is required, any kind of software uppass which has to be put in, and where your server goes down, replacing it with a new server. All of that is now going to be managed by maintenance team, so the kind of attention that was required for you to give your application, it could not get that attention because, however, your attention was towards the infrastructure side, which is understandable. So, these are the problems that could be solved by cloud computing. And one fine day, AWS came up and asked you, why don't you use my servers? I have a stack of servers in my warehouse, why don't you use some of them? And the best thing about is that you know how to buy the service from me. You can just rent them from me. Use them for the time you wanted to and give them anytime you want. If you want it for 5 hours, you just pay for 5 hours time that you used it for. At the same time, you don't have to worry about the maintenance. AWS will do the maintenance for your servers. This is a very good deal for you because now you no need to spend money on buying servers and not spending money on the maintenance team. Everything is being managed by AWS and at a less price. Now we have understood why companies are adopting AWS or any other cloud platform and what exactly is AWS. So let's move on to discuss the different AWS services. Let's have a look at extensively used AWS domains and their services. Compute. This domain consists of the following services related to computing workloads. Elastic Compute Cloud, that is EC2, Elastic Container Service, that is ECS, Lightsail, Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, Elastic Container Service for Kubernetes, that is EKS. Storage. Storage domain consists of services related to data storage such as Simple Storage Service, that is S3, Glacier, Storage Gateway, Elastic File Storage, that is EFS. Database. This domain is utilized for database-related workload. Services under these domains are Relational Database Service, that is RDS, Redshift, DynamoDB. Migration. This domain is used for transferring data to and from AWS framework and includes the following services: Database Migration Service, Snowball, Server Migration Service, that is SMS. And content delivery. In this domain, network is utilized for segregating network infrastructure and content delivery is used for quicker delivery of content. It involves the following services: Virtual Private Cloud, that is VPC, Route 53, CloudFront, Direct Connect. Management tools. This domain involves services which are used to manage other services in AWS. Services under this domain are CloudFormation, CloudWatch, CloudTrial, Security, Identity, and Compliance. This domain involves services which are used to manage, to authenticate, and deliver security to AWS resources. It includes the following services: Identity and Access Management, that is IAM, Key Management Service, that is KMS, Web Application Firewall, that is WAF, Shield, Certificate Manager. Messaging. This particular domain includes services that are used for queuing, notifying, or emailing messages. Services under this domain are Pinpoint, Simple Email Services, that is SES, Simple Notification Service, that is SNS, Simple Queue Service, that is SQS. Mobile services. This particular domain includes two popular AWS mobile services, that is Cognitive and Mobile Analytics. Now let's discuss about the global infrastructure that AWS has to offer. AWS provides many services throughout the globe. It has a global presence, and these orange dots are the regions that AWS has. Each region has multiple zones, and zones are nothing but huge data centers with a lot of servers. So overall, there are 18 geographical regions around the world, and those regions we have around 50 availability zones. Why we need a global infrastructure is a question, right? So let me take an example to understand it. The website servers are now distributed among different places throughout the world. Now, what advantage does it give to you? First of all, it helps in a disaster recovery kind of situation, as you can host your application in any region across the globe. Second advantage is that it serves the purpose of users from different countries. For example, you are in country A and you are trying to access your website. Probably you can access it from this server rather than having your server at one location, which will have more latency. It's a very bad measure to take when we are too concerned about disaster recovery. So this is the reason that AWS has a global presence and they have a global infrastructure. If you are using that, then your customers can have the lowest latency possible, and also you can implement the best disaster recovery measures. Let's now talk about AWS pricing. AWS pricing is amazing like what we discussed. We have a per hour billing kind of a system, and the pricing is also a region specific in the sense that each region has different pricing for different services. They don't differ much, but they are different from each other for each region, so you can choose a region according to your preference. Also, there is a service called as reserved instances, so using reserved instances, you may save up to 90% costs. So when you say reserve, this basically means you rent the server for a particular term, such as 1 year term or a 3-year term, and when you do that and when you compare it with on-demand pricing, you save up to 90%, which is awesome. And also there is an option for spot pricing as well, wherein you get incredibly low prices by building on servers for a particular price. With that, guys, we have come to an end to the AWS overview. Thank you guys for attending to this session. I hope you guys learned something new today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel and also share to your friends. I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to ZaranTech channel for more updates and learnings.